The iron gate of St. Magdalene's Foundling Hospital screamed on its hinges every night at midnight, announcing the arrival of another basket, another bundle, another life left on the cold stone steps. Sister Prudence had heard that sound for 17 years, and still it clawed at something deep in her chest, a place where her own heart might once have lived. She stood at her window in the eastern tower, watching the fog roll through the courtyard like fingers searching for something lost. Below, Sister Constance emerged from the shadows to collect the newest arrival. Even from this height, Prudence could see the woman's shoulders sharp as knife blades, rigid as doctrine. Mother Superior Theodosia ran St. Magdalene's with the precision of a Swiss watch and the mercy of winter. In the years since she'd taken control of the Foundling Hospital in 1842, the institution had transformed from a place of chaotic charity into something far more organized, far more profitable, and far darker. The operation functioned with the elegance of a well-oiled machine. Babies arrived in the dead of night, left by desperate mothers, guilty fathers, ashamed families. No questions were asked, no names were required. The city's wealthy benefactors praised Mother Theodosia's Christian charity, never knowing that their donations funded something entirely different from what they imagined. Prudence descended the spiral staircase, her candle throwing monstrous shadows against the stone walls. The stairs led directly to the sorting room, a name never spoken aloud but understood by every sister who walked these halls. It was here, in this windowless chamber deep in the hospital's bowels, that Mother Theodosia conducted her most sacred work. She called it divine classification. The heavy oak door stood ajar, golden light spilling into the corridor. Inside, Mother Theodosia bent over a wooden table, where the newest arrival lay unwrapped and exposed to the cold air. Sister Constance stood beside her, holding a series of measuring instruments, calipers, scales, and other devices that transformed human infants into specimens to be catalogued and valued. The baby on the table was perhaps 3 months old, with dark skin and watchful eyes. Too watchful, Prudence thought as she entered the room, as if the child already understood what was about to happen. Mother Theodosia's examination followed a ritual perfected over 15 years. She measured the infant's head, tested the reflexes, examined the skin tone against a chart of gradated squares ranging from pale cream to deepest umber. Every detail was noted, every characteristic assessed for its market value. The process took 20 minutes, conducted in near complete silence, except for the scratch of Sister Constance's pen against parchment. The conclusion was inevitable. The child was classified as Class D, the lowest category in Mother Theodosia's taxonomy. Class D infants, those with the darkest skin and no physical impairments, were destined for a specific fate. They would be kept in the hospital's hidden nursery, fed just enough to survive, and held until they reached 7 years of age. At that point, they would be transported south, where certain plantations paid handsomely for young, healthy workers who had no memory of freedom and no family to search for them. Sister Constance produced a small vial of ink, black as midnight, and painted a tiny mark behind the infant's left ear. The symbol would fade within days, but it had already been recorded in the true census, the ledger that would never see the light of public scrutiny. The child was carried away to the Eastern Wing, where he would join 17 others awaiting their 7th birthdays. The system had 4 classifications, each with its own destiny: Class A infants were the most valuable, those with pale skin, blonde or light brown hair, and no visible defects. These children remained at St. Magdalene's for only a few days before being placed with wealthy families desperate for heirs. The adoption fees were substantial, though they were called donations in the official paperwork. Childless merchants, aging aristocrats, and social climbers paid between $500 and $2,000 for a Class A infant, depending on specific features. Blue eyes commanded a premium. Class B children, those with light brown or olive complexions, were placed with middle-class families or trained as domestic servants within respectable households. The fees were lower, typically $100 to $300, but the volume was higher. These children learned to be grateful for their placement, to serve without question, and to never speak of St. Magdalene's. Class C encompassed children with physical disabilities or deformities. These infants were sent to specialized institutions, workhouses, asylums, or experimental medical facilities where doctors paid modest sums to study various conditions. Some were sent to rural monasteries where they lived out their lives in silent prayer and manual labor. Mother Theodosia considered this merciful, as many foundling hospitals simply left such children to die of exposure or neglect. Class D represented the darkest chapter in St. Magdalene's operations. Beyond those destined for plantation sales, this category included children of mixed heritage who were too dark to pass as white, but healthy enough to be valuable. These occupied a particularly cruel limbo in Mother Theodosia's system. Prudence had witnessed 342 sortings during her 17 years at St. Magdalene's. Each one was recorded in her careful script, each child reduced to a line of text. Date received, estimated age, physical characteristics, classification, and ultimate disposition. The ledgers represented thousands of lives diverted, transformed, erased. She had begun her tenure as a true believer. Mother Theodosia had explained the system as a necessary evil, a way to ensure that every child found a place in God's design, that resources were allocated efficiently, that the hospital could continue its charitable work. Better this, Mother Theodosia insisted, than the alternative: infants left to die in alleyways, mothers bleeding out from desperate measures, families destroyed by shame and poverty. For years, Prudence had accepted this logic. She had told herself that she was serving a higher purpose, that her meticulous records ensured accountability, that her presence in the sorting room provided some measure of humanity to an inhuman process. But something had changed 3 months earlier, when a young woman had appeared at the hospital's main entrance in broad daylight, a violation of the unspoken protocol. She had refused to leave her baby at the gate, demanding instead to speak with whoever ran the institution. Sister Constance had tried to turn her away, but the woman's screams had drawn Mother Theodosia herself. The confrontation had been brief and brutal. The woman claimed that St. Magdalene's had taken her first child 7 years prior, and she had recently learned the truth about where such children went. She accused Mother Theodosia of human trafficking, of sin disguised as charity, of betraying every principle of Christian mercy. Mother Theodosia had remained calm throughout the accusations. She had simply gestured to Sister Constance, who summoned 2 men from the hospital staff, burly former dock workers who handled security and transportation. The woman was removed from the premises and, according to whispered rumors, delivered directly to the city asylum, where inconvenient voices were often silenced. But her words had lodged in Prudence's mind like shrapnel, working deeper with each passing day. She began to see the sorting room differently, not as a place of necessary classification, but as a theater of judgment, where children's worth was determined by the depth of their skin tone and the structure of their features. She began to understand that divine classification was neither divine nor classification, but commerce dressed in theological language. The true scope of the operation became clear when Prudence discovered a second set of ledgers hidden in Mother Theodosia's private study. These books contained financial records that revealed the staggering profits generated by St. Magdalene's. Over 15 years, the hospital had processed nearly 2,000 infants. Class A adoptions alone had generated over $1 million. Class B placements added another 300,000. Class D sales, carefully recorded as agricultural labor contracts, accounted for 200,000 more. Mother Theodosia had grown wealthy beyond imagination. She maintained accounts in 3 different banks under various names. She owned property in Boston, Philadelphia, and Charleston. She had transformed Christian charity into a thriving business, and she had done so under the blessing of church authorities who either didn't know or chose not to examine too closely. The system required silence and complicity. Every sister at St. Magdalene's knew the truth to some degree, but speaking out meant expulsion, poverty, and social ruin. The church provided their livelihood, their identity, their place in the world. To challenge Mother Theodosia was to challenge the institution itself. Yet Prudence found she could no longer maintain her silence. The infant she had watched being classified as Class D that evening, the 3-month-old boy with watchful eyes, had broken something inside her. She imagined him at 7 years old, torn from the only home he'd known and shipped south to a life of brutality. She imagined the mother who had left him at the gate, believing he would be cared for, never knowing the fate she'd delivered him to. She made her decision in the hour before dawn. She would take one of the ledgers, the true census that recorded every child and their disposition. She would take it to the city's newspaper, to the district attorney, to anyone who might listen. She understood the cost. She would be cast out, labeled a liar or lunatic, possibly institutionalized like the woman who had come screaming accusations. But the alternative, continuing to record atrocities in neat script, continuing to be complicit in the grinding machinery of Mother Theodosia's enterprise, had become impossible. As the first light of morning touched the tower window, Prudence opened the current ledger one final time. She traced her finger down the entries from the past month. 23 children sorted, 9 Class A, 7 Class B, 2 Class C, 5 Class D. 23 lives weighed, measured, valued, and dispersed according to criteria that had nothing to do with their humanity and everything to do with profit. She closed the book and tucked it under her cloak. The iron gate would scream again tonight at midnight, announcing another arrival. But this time, someone would be listening who was ready to scream back.